Admiral Jin stood tall near Earth's small booth in the Galactic Council chamber. The huge room was filled with aliens from 200 different worlds. The important species had big, fancy areas. Earth, being new, had a tiny space in the back. Jin watched as High Counselor Nak spoke about the Viridian attacks. The old Araxian's voice echoed through the chamber as he described how these aggressive aliens had attacked 3 council worlds and blocked important trade routes. Jin looked at Ambassador Hyun, both knowing what this meant. The Viridians had been looking at Earth's star systems with hungry eyes for years. This could be the beginning of something dangerous for humanity. All council members must help defend against this threat. Nak announced, his 4 arms moving with emphasis. The powerful species began offering their military forces. The Zoltan promised 30 battleships. The Quell offered their famous drone armies. The Triskelion pledged shield systems for vulnerable planets. When Earth's turn came, Hyun stood up. He was a small figure compared to many aliens in the chamber, but his voice was clear and confident. Earth will contribute a single destroyer to this effort. The chamber erupted in laughter. Some delegates whispered to each other. Others made sounds that humans would interpret as snickering or scoffing. A single destroyer. The Craxian representative stood, his scales glittering under the chamber lights. Our reports show humans have only 6 destroyers total. Is this some kind of joke? You can't even spare 1/6 of your tiny fleet. Jin's lips curved into a small smile. The council thought they knew Earth's military strength. They had never bothered to look closely. They had just assumed humans were weak, like most young space-traveling species. What they didn't know was that 50 years ago, when Earth received its first contact, the world's leaders had made a decision. They would appear weak and unimportant, while secretly building one of the largest space forces in the galaxy. Earth's true fleet remained hidden. Ships were stored in underground bases on the moon. More were disguised as space debris or kept behind sophisticated cloaking technology. Training centers on Mars prepared millions of soldiers away from prying alien eyes. Weapon factories in the asteroid belt created technology that would shock the older species. As the Craxian continued to mock Earth's small contribution, Jin thought about the thousands of ships waiting for her command. She thought about the advanced weapons Earth had developed during centuries of human conflict. She thought about how surprised these arrogant aliens would be when they discovered the truth. "We understand your concern," Hyun replied calmly to the Craxian. "But 1 destroyer is what Earth can contribute at this time." The council members shared knowing looks. The human ambassador was being polite, they thought. But everyone knew humans were still primitive. Their ships were considered slow and poorly armed. Their weapons were thought to be basic. Their defenses were believed to be minimal. Jin knew the truth would soon change everything. For years, Earth had gathered intelligence on all council species while revealing very little about itself. Humans had learned the strengths and weaknesses of potential enemies while appearing harmless. The Viridian threat was real, and it was time to show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. Earth's strategy had always been to speak softly while hiding its strength. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would learn what humans were truly capable of. As the council meeting continued, Jin received a message on her secure communicator. Earth's spy network had detected Viridian ships moving toward human space. The enemy believed Earth would be easy to conquer while the council was distracted. Jin's smile grew slightly wider. The Viridians had fallen into the same trap as everyone else. They thought Earth was weak. They would soon learn how wrong they were. "Admiral," Hyun whispered as the council debated strategy, "how long before we need to activate the fleet?" 3 days, Jin replied quietly. "Maybe 4. The Viridians will attack the council forces first, then turn toward Earth when they think we're undefended. And our destroyer, the Thunderchild, is ready. I'll command her myself." They shared a knowing look as the council continued to plan a defense that they believed would fail. The aliens didn't understand that Earth's single destroyer was just the bait in a much larger trap. Jin looked around the council chamber one last time. Soon these smug aliens would see Earth's true power. Soon the Viridians would regret targeting human worlds. Soon the galaxy would understand that humanity had never been the weak, primitive species they all assumed. The Thunderchild would sail into battle alone, but when the time came, it would not fight alone. The sleeping giant of Earth's military would awaken, and the galaxy would never be the same. Jin stood on the bridge of the Thunderchild, watching the battle through the main view screen. The ship hummed with quiet power beneath her feet. This destroyer, Earth's lone contribution to the defense force, was far more advanced than any alien knew. "Status report," Jin ordered. "The Council fleet is nearly destroyed," her second officer reported. "The Viridians attacked with twice the ships we expected. They had hidden reinforcements." Jin nodded calmly. The Viridians had played the same trick Earth had, hiding their true strength. The difference was that humanity had prepared for this moment. Through the view screen, Jin watched as alien ships burned and drifted. The Viridians had brought 200 warships against the Council's defensive force of 70. It hadn't even been a fair fight. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Araxian flagship," called out the communications officer. "On screen," Jin replied. The image of High Counselor Nak appeared. The ancient alien looked disheveled, his normally perfect robes singed at the edges. Behind him, crew members rushed back and forth. Smoke filled the air, and sparks flew from damaged control panels. "Admiral Jin," Nak's voice was strained. "The situation is lost. The Viridians were stronger than our intelligence suggested. You must retreat immediately. Save your vessel." Jin met the alien's 4 eyes without flinching. "High Counselor, with respect, I believe the battle has only just begun. This is not the time for human pride." Nak shouted. "The Viridians have destroyed most of our fleet. Your single ship cannot possibly make a difference." Jin straightened her blue uniform and smiled. "I believe it's time to call in Earth's reserves." Nak's expression showed confusion. "Reserves? What reserves? Your species contributed only this single destroyer. You possess only 6. Thunderchild, transmit authorization code." "Sleeping giant," Jin interrupted. Her communications officer pressed a series of buttons. "Code transmitted. Admiral." Nak stared at Jin through the screen. "What is the meaning of?" He never finished the sentence. His eyes widened as alerts sounded on his own bridge. Back in the Sol system, humanity's home star system, something remarkable was happening. Hidden doors were opening. Secret bases were activating. A sleeping military giant was awakening. On Earth's moon, massive sections of the surface slid open, revealing enormous shipyards that extended kilometers deep. Hundreds of warships, hidden for decades, powered up their engines. On Mars, the polar ice caps split apart as launch platforms rose from beneath the surface. Attack ships and fighter squadrons that had been training in secret poured out into space. Around Jupiter, all 67 moons simultaneously activated defense platforms and revealed hidden fleets. Mining operations that aliens thought were gathering resources were actually military bases. Most impressive of all, in high orbit around Earth itself, thousands of stealth field generators deactivated. Space seemed to ripple and shift as Earth's true fleet became visible. Where aliens believed 6 destroyers existed, there were now 600 capital ships and thousands of smaller vessels. For 50 years, Earth had been building in secret. For 50 years, humanity had prepared for war while talking of peace. For 50 years, Earth had hidden its true strength. On the bridge of the Thunderchild, Jin watched as the High Counselor's jaw dropped in shock. Behind him, his officers were pointing at their own screens, shouting about massive new ship signatures appearing throughout Earth's space. "High Counselor," Jin said calmly, "Earth's full contribution is incoming." "How is this possible?" Nak whispered. "Our intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see," Jin finished for him. Humanity learned long ago that appearing weak when you are strong is the wisest strategy of all. Jin turned to her tactical officer. Time until the Earth fleet arrives through the jump points. First wave will arrive in 3 minutes, Admiral. Second wave 2 minutes after that. Jin nodded and turned back to the stunned alien on the screen. High Counselor, I suggest you move your damaged vessels to the rear. The counterattack is about to begin. Nak was still struggling to find words. The Council has monitored Earth for decades. How could you hide so much from us? Jin's expression remained calm. The Council saw what it expected to see, a young primitive species taking its first steps into the galaxy. You never considered that we might have reasons to hide our true capabilities. Through the view screen, the first jump points began to form. Space twisted and folded as the laws of physics bent to human technology. Massive warships began to emerge, each one larger and more heavily armed than the entire fleet the Council had believed Earth possessed. The first battleship to emerge was the EFS Defiant, a vessel 4 kilometers long with weapons that could crack a small moon. Behind it came dozens more capital ships, then hundreds of cruisers and destroyers. Admiral, her sensor officer called out, the Viridian fleet is changing formation. They've detected our ships emerging from the jump points. Jin nodded. They're about to learn what happens when you threaten Earth. She looked back at Nak, who was watching the arrival of Earth's fleet with wide eyes. High Counselor, humanity has hidden in plain sight for 50 years. Today that ends. The galaxy will know our true strength. As the human armada assembled around the Thunderchild, Jin gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. All ships, prepare for combat. Supreme Conquest Lord Da stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Merciless Victory. His scaled skin gleamed under the blue lights of the bridge as he watched the battle map with 4 red eyes. The Council defense fleet was almost completely destroyed. His 200 warships had crushed them easily. Another glorious victory for the Viridian hegemony, Day announced to his officers. His voice was deep and filled with pride. One of his officers pointed to a small blip on the screen. Supreme Lord, a single Earth vessel approaches. Day laughed, showing his sharp teeth. The humans send 1 ship. How brave and how foolish. The Viridians had studied humans for years. They knew Earth had only 6 destroyers total. The aliens believed humans were weak and their technology was primitive. Shall we destroy it, Supreme Lord? Asked his weapons officer. Of course, Daz said with a cruel smile. But slowly. Let them suffer as an example to all who oppose the Viridian hegemony. The human ship, identified as the Thunderchild, moved steadily toward the Viridian fleet. It made no evasive maneuvers. It showed no signs of fear. Primitive fools, Da sneered to his bridge officers. Prepare to. My lord, his sensor officer suddenly called out. The young Viridian's voice was shaking. Massive spatial distortions detected. Something is happening. Day turned quickly to the main view screen. What is the meaning of this? Ships, thousands of them, emerging from hyperspace. Around the Viridian fleet, space itself seemed to ripple and twist. Bright flashes of light appeared as hundreds of jump points formed. Massive warships began to emerge from these points. Impossible, Dai whispered as he watched the sensors. The human fleet materialized all around them, completely surrounding the Viridian forces. There were not 6 destroyers as intelligence had reported. There were hundreds of capital ships and thousands of smaller vessels. The human warships were sleek and angular, with designs the Viridians had never seen before. Count, Da demanded. 500 major warships detected so far. The sensor officer replied, his voice still trembling. Thousands of smaller craft. They have us completely surrounded, Supreme Lord. A communication signal came through on all channels. The face of Admiral Jin appeared on the main screen. Viridian fleet. Her voice was calm but carried authority. This is Admiral Jin of the Earth Defense Force. This is your only warning. Power down your weapons and surrender, or be destroyed. Day felt rage build inside him. Humans were supposed to be weak. This had to be some kind of trick. They are bluffing, he snarled to his officers. Their ships are probably empty shells. All vessels, attack. Show these humans what real power looks like. The Viridian fleet fired their weapons. Energy beams and missiles launched toward the human ships. Day smiled, expecting to see the human vessels explode. Instead, the weapons simply dissipated against invisible shields. The human vessels glowed slightly where they were hit, but showed no damage at all. Their shield technology, his weapons officer said in disbelief. It's absorbing everything we throw at them. Then the human fleet responded. Blue-white beams of concentrated gravity cut through Viridian warships like they were made of paper. Ships split in half, their crews exposed to the vacuum of space. Black spheres, quantum torpedoes, struck other vessels. Where they hit, space itself seemed to collapse inward, crushing entire battleships into twisted metal. Squadrons of human fighters moved with perfect coordination, as if the pilots shared one mind. They flew in formations that seemed impossible, turning at speeds that should have killed their pilots. On his bridge, Dai watched in horror as his fleet was systematically destroyed. Ship after ship exploded or was cut to pieces. His officers called out desperate reports. Battle Group 7 is gone. We've lost contact with the entire western flank. Our weapons have no effect on their shields. They're targeting our engines. In just 15 minutes, it was over. The mighty Viridian fleet, the terror of the galaxy, was reduced to floating debris. Only Day's flagship remained, and it was disabled, drifting helplessly in space. The lights on the bridge flickered as emergency power kicked in. Smoke filled the air from damaged consoles. Many of Day's officers were dead or injured. How? Da whispered as he stared at the tactical display. How could they hide such power? On the screen, human ships moved through the debris field, rescuing survivors from both the Viridian fleet and the Council vessels. They worked with efficiency that spoke of long preparation. A communication request came through. Dai hesitated, then pressed the button to accept. Admiral Jin's face appeared on screen again. Supreme Conquest Lord Dai, she said, your fleet is destroyed. Your ship is disabled. Do you surrender? Dai, Supreme Conquest, Lord of the Viridian hegemony, leader of the most feared military force in the galaxy, lowered his head in defeat. I surrender, he said quietly. Wise decision, Jin replied. Rescue ships are on the way to your vessel. You and your surviving crew will be treated according to the Galactic Conventions on prisoners of war. As Jin's face disappeared from the screen, Da looked out through the viewports at the human fleet surrounding him. The ships were beautiful in their deadliness, a perfect blend of art and war technology. For 50 years, the galaxy had believed humans were weak. For 50 years, Earth had built up its forces in secret. For 50 years, humanity had prepared for this moment. And in 15 minutes, they had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Hundreds of alien representatives shouted and argued with each other. Some pounded their appendages on tables. Others waved documents in the air. A few species that communicated through light patterns were flashing so rapidly that others had to shield their eyes. High Counselor Nak tried to restore order. The ancient Araxian stood at the central podium, all four of his arms raised. Please, we must maintain dignity in these proceedings. Nak called out, but few listened. News of the human victory over the Viridian fleet had spread quickly. The galaxy's most feared military power had been crushed in minutes by a species most had dismissed as primitive. Fear and confusion filled the chamber. The main doors opened. Admiral Jin and Ambassador Hyun walked in side by side. Jin wore her formal blue uniform with gold trim. Hyun wore a simple black suit. They moved with quiet confidence. As the humans entered, the room fell silent. All eyes, stalks, sensors, and other sensory organs turned to watch them. Jin and Hyun walked to the center of the chamber and stood before the High Council's table. They did not speak. They simply waited. The Craxian representative, still angry from being mocked at the previous meeting, stood up. His scales were bright red with emotion. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Your species claimed to have minimal military capacity. You told us you had only 6 destroyers. You have deceived the Council." Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Many nodded or made their species equivalent gestures. "No," Hyun replied calmly. "The Council assumed we had minimal capacity. We never corrected this misunderstanding." More shouting erupted. The Zoltan delegate's skin glowed bright yellow with anger. "This is semantics. You deliberately missiled us." Jin stepped forward. "With permission, High Counselor, I would like to show the Council something." Nak nodded, and Jin activated a small device on her wrist. Above their heads, a large holographic display appeared. It showed Earth's complete military assets in stunning detail. The delegates fell silent again as they saw the true extent of human military power. The display showed massive shipyards hidden inside Earth's moon, capable of producing capital ships in weeks rather than years. It revealed fleet academies on Mars that had trained millions of soldiers and pilots. It displayed the mining and manufacturing operations around Jupiter's moons that had built weapons more advanced than many Council races possessed. Most shocking of all, it showed human colonies across 12 star systems, all heavily fortified and connected by jump point technology that was generations ahead of what the Council thought humans had. "How did you hide all this?" asked a small furry delegate from the back of the room. "Humanity's history is filled with warfare," Jin explained. "For thousands of years, humans fought each other. We became experts at deception and misdirection. When we achieved peace on our world, we didn't disarm, we prepared." She touched her device again, and the display showed Earth's history: world wars, nuclear standoffs, countless smaller conflicts. "Our species has survived numerous extinction-level events," Jin continued. "Asteroid impacts, plagues, climate disasters, and our own weapons turned against us. We learned to hide our strength rather than flaunt it, to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." The High Counselor studied the humans thoughtfully, his ancient eyes taking in every detail of the display. "Why reveal yourselves now?" Nak asked. "You could have continued this deception for decades." "Because the Viridians weren't just targeting Council worlds," Hyun answered. "Our intelligence network, which is far more extensive than you know, indicated Earth was their next target after they finished with the Council." Hyun activated his own device, showing intercepted Viridian battle plans. Several direct routes to the Sol system were clearly marked. "The Council's complacency would have doomed us all," Hyun added. "You underestimated the Viridian threat. We could not afford to do the same." Jin stepped forward again. "Earth has no interest in conquering or controlling the Council. We want peace. We have always wanted peace, but we will no longer pretend to be defenseless." "How can we trust you now?" asked the Triskelion representative, her 3 eyes blinking nervously. "You've hidden your true nature from us for 50 years. Jin looked directly at the alien. "Would you have trusted us if we had arrived in the galaxy showing our full military strength? Would you have welcomed us or feared us?" The Council chamber was quiet as the delegates considered this question. "You would have seen us as a threat," Jin continued. "You would have formed alliances against us, prepared for war with us, and in response, we would have built even more weapons. That is the cycle of fear that has nearly destroyed our own world many times." Nak leaned forward. "What do you propose now, Admiral, now that your secret is revealed?" Jin looked around the chamber, meeting the gaze of many delegates before answering. "A new beginning, a genuine alliance based on truth. Earth will share some of its defensive technology with Council worlds. We will help rebuild what the Viridians destroyed, and we will stand ready if other threats emerge." The Council erupted in discussion again, but this time it was not panicked. Delegates spoke to each other in measured tones. Some nodded, others seemed skeptical but willing to listen. Hyun whispered to Jin, "They're afraid, but also relieved. The Viridians have been a shadow over the council for decades." Jin nodded. Fear can turn to respect, given time. High Counselor Nak raised his hands for silence. When the room quieted, he looked directly at the two humans. "Earth has revealed itself to be much more than we believed. This is concerning, yes, but also intriguing. The Council will need time to process this new reality." Jin bowed slightly. "We understand. Earth has patience. We have waited 50 years to show our true selves. We can wait a little longer for trust to grow." In the vast Galactic Council chamber, a year had passed since humanity's dramatic rise. Earth's delegation now sat prominently among ancient alien species, their presence both respected and slightly feared. Ambassador Hyun stood before the assembly, announcing a groundbreaking defense pact that connected Earth with 47 different alien civilizations. Admiral Jin listened carefully as the political landscape shifted. The Council was changing. Species once considered unimportant were now being looked at differently. Old ideas about technological progress were crumbling like ancient stone walls. After the official session, High Counselor Nak approached Jin with a burning question. Why did humans hide their true power for so long? The alien's eyes were curious and slightly suspicious. Jin's smile was calm and mysterious. She explained an old Earth saying about speaking softly while carrying a big stick. Humans had watched how the Council treated powerful species, with fear and political games, so they chose a different path. They learned, they watched, and they built relationships quietly. When Nak pressed further about hidden capabilities, Jin's response was clever. "The galaxy is huge," she said, "and we've only just begun our journey together." Her words suggested that humanity still had secrets, still had strength that remained unseen. As she looked out at the stars through the massive chamber window, Jin felt a sense of pride. Humanity had not conquered or attacked. Instead, they had been patient. They had prepared. They had revealed their strength at exactly the right moment. The alien species around her represented centuries of galactic history. Some were ancient and wise. Some were technologically advanced. But humanity had proven they were different. They were strategic. They were smart. The Defense Pact meant that human military advisors were now established on dozens of alien worlds. This was not an invasion. This was a partnership, a careful, calculated move that would change everything. High Counselor Nak watched Jin, trying to understand this human strategy. Humans were new to the galactic stage, but they were playing the game better than anyone had expected. They had surprised everyone, and they were just getting started. As the chamber hummed with diplomatic conversations, Jin knew that humanity's real journey was only beginning. They had a place among the stars now, not through force, but through intelligence and careful planning. The stars outside seemed to twinkle with possibility. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.